Everyone talks about moving to Florida when they start thinking about retirement, a second home, or even a lifestyle change. But what I'm seeing more and more, especially with clients that I work with, is that Arizona is becoming one of the great alternatives. And in a lot of cases, it's actually a much better fit. The difference really comes down to a few key points that most people don't fully think about and work through in the very beginning. What's it going to cost to buy in the market? What is it going to cost to stay there long term? And what are your day-to-day lifestyles actually going to look like when you live there full time? And when you start breaking those down, especially when you look at areas like Bullhead City, Arizona, it starts to stand out in a very different way. Hi, I'm Amy Pierce with Keller Williams Arizona Living Realty, and I help clients relocate, buy second homes, and invest right here in Bullhead City and the surrounding areas of Mojave County, Arizona. In this video, I am going to walk you through 5 of the differences between Arizona and Florida so that you can decide which actually makes the most sense for you. So let's start with one everyone hears about first, and that's taxes. Florida is well known for not having any state income tax, and that's a big draw, especially for retirees or high income buyers. Arizona, in our state, we do have a state income tax, but it is a flat rate of 2.5%. And while that doesn't beat Florida, it is significantly lower than where many of our clients are coming from, especially if they are relocating from California, Washington, or other higher tax markets. So yes, Florida wins on paper here, and it's only one part of the overall financial picture. Because once you move past the taxes, the next, and honestly one of the biggest factors, is home prices and what it actually costs to get into the market. Across much of Florida, especially in popular relocation areas, pricing has climbed significantly over the past few years. And when you look at the current data from Redfin and Zillow in 2025 and into 2026, many of those Florida markets are still sitting way above the national average, particularly in coastal areas where demand continues to drive pricing. Now, compare that to Arizona, where you have a much wider range of price points depending upon where you look. And this is where buyers really start to see a shift in the total markets. In Phoenix and in Scottsdale, pricing has gone up substantially, but when buyers start to look outside those metro areas, they begin to find real opportunities. In Bullhead City, for example, when you look at the most recent 2026 data, median home prices are in the low to mid 300,000s. And when you compare that to overall Arizona median sales price in the mid 400,000s, you can see very quickly where the value starts to come in. In many neighborhoods here, buyers are still finding homes under 400,000, which creates a completely different entry point compared to a lot of the Florida markets. And it's not just pricing, it's how the market behaves. So what that tells our buyers is that you're not in a hyper competitive situation and that you are also not in a declining market. It gives buyers a little bit of breathing room, a little bit of time to negotiate opportunity while still maintaining stable values. And that balance is something that a lot of clients are specifically looking for right now. One thing I think is really important to understand here is that when buyers start comparing Arizona to Florida, it is not always an apples to apples decision. A lot of times what they're really deciding upon is how much do they want to allocate towards the home itself versus the overall lifestyle. In higher price markets, a larger portion of the budget will go directly to the purchase of the property, which can also be very limiting with your flexibility. In markets like Bullhead City, where your entry price can buy you more, it opens up options. It might mean being able to purchase sooner, keep more cash available, or even consider a second property down the road. That flexibility is a big part of why buyers start to lean towards an area like this. From there, it really comes down to lifestyle, and this is where Arizona and Florida are just very different experiences. Florida offers coastal beach-driven lifestyles, and you have palm trees, humidity, and a lot of tourism in many of the popular areas. Arizona offers something different. You have the desert, the mountains, and a more relaxed pace in many communities. And this is where Bullhead really starts to stand out within Arizona. You're not just getting desert living, you're getting access to the Colorado River where boating, jet skiing, fishing, and being close to Lake Mojave matters. So when people think that they have to go to Florida to get the water lifestyle, that's not necessarily the case. Here you are getting that same access to water, but with space, less congestion, and often at a much lower cost of entry. Now let's talk about the weather and risk, because this is something that doesn't always come up right away, but it absolutely should. Florida comes with humidity, hurricane exposure, and in many areas, flood zones that can impact both insurance and long-term costs. Arizona is very different. We have a dry climate, very predictable weather patterns, and far fewer large-scale weather disruptions. Now, I always like to be very real about this, and our summers are hot, extremely hot, and there is no way around that. And we also have monsoon seasons. And in that monsoon season, we will get storms, wind, and some heavy rains at times. It is still a very predictable climate compared to what you see in coastal Florida. And that predictability plays a role in both lifestyle and long-term planning. And the last difference where I think Arizona really starts to separate itself is the long-term cost and flexibility. In Florida, even though you may have the tax advantage, your higher entry point into the market can limit your options long-term. In Arizona, and especially in areas like Bullhead City, that lower entry price point gives you more flexibility. It allows buyers to consider second homes and seasonal living, or even investment opportunities in a way that feels much more manageable. So when you break it all down, affordability, flexibility, and space, Arizona really starts to make a strong case. And then when you layer in something that I think often is overlooked, which is the water access, it becomes even more compelling. So the real question becomes, what matters more to you? Is it the tax advantages that Florida offers, or is it being able to get into a home at a lower price point, have flexibility, and still enjoy a lifestyle that includes water, outdoor living, and space? If you're considering a move, a second home, or even just exploring your options and what they would look like here, I'm always happy to be a resource. Scan the QR code or click the link in the comments below and book a call with me. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss any of my weekly videos on real estate and life here along the Colorado River. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week.